switch up our football graphics, and we go here and then there. And yeah, I think we are good on that. All right. Well, Dujanay, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I just realized I put the Wizards one on and not the football one. Anyway, now I'm doing great. And I'm super happy. We have 2 wins to talk about this week. With winning 5 out of their last 6 games, which is pretty incredible. We'll get into it in just a minute. I do want to introduce, at least to the video and audio part of the chat. Champ has already been modding like a champ. How are you doing tonight, Champ?
I'm ecstatic. It's been a great week for DC sports. Caps are doing pretty well. Wizards are on fire, and the Washington Commanders are on fire as well. It's like, for once, it's good to be a DC sports fan.
Yeah,
how you doing? Dude's name miss you, bro.
I don't know if the Caps are on fire might be a little of a stretch. They lost almost all of it, but the rest of the teams did well. But I'm happy that maybe we can come out of it for sure. I think I'm hoping a rising tide rises all the ships, right? So 5 out of 6 is the number of the podcast. We've won 5 out of 6 for the Commanders. We've won 5 out of the last 6 for the Wizards as well. I can't remember a time I can say that about those 2 teams specifically. But I will take it. Dujanay, we didn't have you on last night. We did last week. We did a live podcast where we actually broke down the 4th quarter and even had Carol come on and celebrate his prediction being correct on the show. But Dujanay, what were your thoughts going back to last Monday? And we kind of shocked the world a little bit. Not many people picked the Commanders in that one.
Yeah, everybody but Alex Smith.
That's true. Why did he pick them, do you think? Did he? I didn't see the segment, so I don't know his reason.
I think he really did believe that that was possible. Just by, happenstance, sometimes good things have to come to an end. It definitely, to me, was a trap game for Philadelphia, but it was more than just being trapped. I mean, they were dominated the whole entire game. Washington had the ball for 40 minutes and 24 seconds. Their third down conversions were pretty good, 12 of 21. I mean, to have 21, 21 third downs means you have the ball a lot. They had 81 plays on the night. So, look, this is just what, analysts like myself have been asking for since the beginning. If you add up 3 yards per carry, you run the ball twice, well, you're in 3rd and short. 3rd and short for any quarterback is should be easy with the weapons you have around you with Samuel, McLaurin. You could add AG24 in there. You got Doxson back now, but there's guys that are making plays for them, and this is pretty much what has been asked, and they're executing it well. This is what is going to work best for this football team going forward, because this is how they're built. That whole trying to drop back and pass it and everybody trying to be the Tom Brady New England Patriots type offense. It's just everybody can't do that, and it was definitely proved against the Eagles on that Monday night, and boy, they had that crowd like quiet is an understatement. So that was an impressive win, defensively, offensively, special teams, just all around good game, and I don't think you could ask for anything more.
Yeah, I do like that one play where they had that giant play that was down the field, and it looked like they were changing the momentum, and it was a catch for the Eagles, and the place went bananas, and then didn't give up on the play and punched it out, got the ball, and the place's volume dropped so fast. I've never heard that place like go from so loud to so quiet, like in a matter of just moments. It was a beautiful thing to see. Champ, your quick thoughts on that one, and then we'll get Dujanay's thoughts on this week.
Well, I opined about this in my final thoughts on the podcast this past weekend. As much as it was a big win for the Commanders to end the undefeated season of the Eagles, it felt empty because of the fact we got away with a face mask penalty that led to the one of the turnovers. And I just felt really empty because I'm like, if they'd have called that face mask, we could be talking about a whole different game. But because the fumble happened, there was a face mask that was not called, and it was obvious. As a Commanders fan, I will admit, because I'm not delusional like most of the fan base, they missed that call, obviously. But they can't go on replay and go back and say, oh, there was a face mask, there's no fumble. So it is what it is. But it just felt empty to me after the fact. I'm like, man, we actually got away with one, and it could have been a difference in the game. So I talked about that on my podcast this past weekend, but it was still a big win for the Commanders. They needed that in the worst way possible because of how far back they are in the division. Every division game they can win is crucial going down the home stretch, because now you have a stretch where you have 3 division games left, 2 with the Giants and 1 with the Cowboys. Those are must-win games if you're going to have any chance of making the playoffs after such a tough start to the season. But all in all, again, big win, but to me, it just felt empty.
It's interesting that you feel that way now. I feel like we thought differently in the moment. We were just so excited to get the win. But yeah. I understand that, like, taking the time to think about it, your opinions can, are valid to have changed. I am happy though, no matter what, because there were some calls that went against us too. And there's so many games that I feel like calls go against us that are questionable, or we don't get the calls that we should be. So, I'm sorry if it happens to another team every once in a while too. It's like we've been on the other, just the previous week, we're on the other end of that kind of a call. And, but Dugenais, let's get into yesterday's game. It's a team that we're supposed to beat. Some people were saying after the game that maybe we should beat them by more or differently. I talked to Carroll about that a little bit. His thought was, this Houston team has lost a lot of games this year, but they've been close. It's not like they're getting blown out every week and we blew them out by less than everybody else's or whatever. This has been pretty true to form. What were some of your thoughts on getting a victory and not playing down to an opponent?
Yeah, I think that's really the key there, what you said. Often this team plays down to their opponents. This team and the Texans don't have a lot of things to work with. They have been in a lot of close games. So this is not, you can call it what you want, but you play the teams that you have on your schedule. And for once, Washington was able to play a team on their schedule and be successful. We've seen this time and time again with this football team where you get into a game where you're supposed to beat this team and you're in a dogfight, scrapping for your life, and you end up losing that. So I don't see it as being a bad. There's no wins or bad wins. They were able to do enough defensively, offensively, to get the job done. What I will say is this is the difference. This is the give and take that you have with a quarterback. Okay. You talk about Carson Wentz. I know people are sour on him, but I don't think people are taking a full context of the fact that he just hasn't been here long enough to know the offense. Taylor should be this good. He knows the offense, understands it very well, understands where he needs to go with the football, and he's in a lot more better rhythm with the guys around him than said Carson Wentz. With that said, you have a quarterback in Carson Wentz that has a bigger arm than Taylor, but at the end of the day, Taylor's been more efficient. And when you have a team that's rallying around a guy, this is something you have to do. But Taylor has to get better with being able to make those throws. See, that's the difference between Taylor and Carson. In the red zone, Carson is very effective. He's able to throw passes and get some of these passes that are tough into some of the small windows to get touchdowns. Taylor's not that good at doing that. That's why he's throwing the ball away, not willing to take a risk, which I'm okay with, because we know when he's good, he's good. When he's bad, he turns it over. So I'd rather have a guy not throwing the ball in an area that he's not comfortable with. But again, that's the difference in the quarterbacks. There's a little bit of give and take here. So you're going to have to live with this. But at the end of the day, I'm not saying that you have to live with this long term. He's going to have to get better at this. and they're going to have to scheme better for what Taylor does best in those red zones, because you're going to have to come away with 7 at some point. Just think about if they were able to come away with 7 2 more times and what the score would have been versus the 3 twice. Give Joey Sly his credit, though. He's doing a good job. You know, when he's called upon, he's executing and getting it done. So I'm not, you know, you at least have somebody getting points for this football team. But when you're in the red zone like that, they have to do better. And Taylor has to be better in that instance. And I have to say, Scott Turner has to do things that he does best in those situations, because he's not going to do what Carson is able to do in the red zone. Carson's a very good red zone quarterback.
Yeah. I almost wish that you could play quarterbacks in different parts of the field. Like, it's not a sport that you can do that, really.
No.
I mean, especially, sometimes you have a running one and a passing one. You know, people have tried to do that with the Wildcat, but it's just their strengths are so different, right?
They
and
are.
they really they offer so many different things.
But they're still the same guy, though. Like,
yeah.
even though that their things are different, when you break them down, they have pluses on one end, minuses on the other end, but they really, a lot of these things, they still even themselves out. They're just better on, like, for instance, so Carson's better at throwing a deeper ball. He has a stronger arm, but he struggles. We've seen it. He struggles throwing anything 7 to 10 yards. It's not consistent. It comes out high, you know, maybe not even coming out that well at all. You see that Taylor's more efficient in that 7 to 12 yard range. He doesn't have that deep ball like we saw it. I believe it was in this game where he tried to lead down the sideline and he just couldn't throw it far enough. Just doesn't have the arm strength. But I live with the efficiency and the fact that, too, what people are not measuring here is that the team's behind him. You don't mess up the chemistry there. They've rallied behind this guy. They are 100% in his corner. And I think with the 4-1 start, you have to stay with the hot hand. It's nothing against Carson. This is not an indictment against him. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, you're winning ball games, and it's about winning games at this point. And the team's rallying. Things are really moving in the right direction. He's doing a good job of being efficient and doing his job well. You got to live and die with some of the moments with him. But at the end of the day, he's winning ball games, and that speaks a lot. The locker room is feeling that. So you have to go with that. And I think the more experience right now is where it's at. Carson, and I feel like Carson could probably get the job done, because I think Scott Turner's doing a better job of calling a football game as well. Has a better understanding of what this team, the identity of this team is. So I'm not saying that he couldn't come in and get it done, but do you take the risk of changing the whole dynamic? You don't, because you're winning ball games. So you keep winning and keep riding the wave until it dies.
No, I 100% agree with you. It makes sense. And also, I mean, to be fair, Wentz hasn't been in the system for nearly as long as Heineke has. You know, he had all those trials and tribulations last year, but that's all game reps and games played in this system with these coordinators, you know, and the coordinators, I think, are more comfortable with him because they can kind of know his tendencies a little bit better because of that. And that can't be overlooked, you know, just because the other guy we paid more for and is a veteran. I think that he could still teach a lot from that position, be another, you know, coach from the quarterback position. I hope that he takes him under his wing and he embraces it, because he's still getting paid either way, right? The only difference is it's not an incentive for him for games played. It's just that the team that traded him would lose out on some picks. But I don't think that really should make him want to help out any less, you know.
No.
And
I think he understands that. I don't think this is a thing of where he's upset or anything. I think he understands what's going on here, and really that's what it is. It's about winning, and this organization has not been winning very much at all. I think a lot of things you can see here. The guys are very positive. They seem to be upbeat. They are really, really thriving as a team. They're working together as a unit. You listen to Jonathan Allen's comments, in his press conference, talking about the football team, talking about having fun, talking about loving the group of guys that he's with. You see the young guys enforced, making plays on the back end. You're starting to see that defense gel. You're starting to see the offense start to come together. If the offensive line, if they can scheme up some ways to get better blocking and bigger holes on the offensive line, we can see this running game blow up a little bit more. We've had, you see some flashes of that with some big runs, but they can consistently do that. That would be awesome. But like I said, man, I don't care if you're getting 3 yards a game. You add 3 yards up twice, you got that's 6 yards. Now you're in a 3rd and short. You can convert that a lot easier than being in 3rd and long, which they were in. At least, the reason why they have 5 losses, I'll say the reason why they have 4 losses, they really should have beat Minnesota. So the reason why they have 4 losses is just the simple fact that too many 3rd and longs, they weren't converting on 3rd down. And I mean, think about it. This game, they were third. They only converted 3 of 13 3rd down conversions, and they were still able to win this ball game. I think that says a lot about not just about the defense, but as the team as a whole. They're working really, really well together, pushing through adversity, continuing to fight. The resilience of this team has shown up in the last 4 out of 5 that Taylor's been in the game. And, I'm just excited to see what continues to go forward. They've built each and every week a little bit more, and they'll get the Falcons at home. And then it's, weirdly 2 division games in 3 weeks. You play the same team twice in 3 weeks is weird, but that's going to be the real test, because I don't even think the Giants are as good as they are, to be honest with you. They should have lost on Sunday too. This team's trending.
Didn't the Giants lose on Sunday?
What am I thinking about? The Giants did lose. I was thinking about the Eagles should have lost. Indy had them the whole entire game and then burped and farted and it was over.
Brian Brennan's on the line and he's commenting in chat that they definitely, in fact, did lose that game.
Yeah. So,
anyway,
I'm not worried about the Giants too much, but Washington's trending in the right direction here, and I think fans should be happy about that. And like I said, you get another winnable game in Atlanta. You don't have to worry about Kyle Pitts. He's on IR. So that's less weapons that they have. The only weapon you need to be concerned about is Cordell Patterson. And if they can get a win there, man, they're riding high already. So
they beat Chicago. They lost at Carolina, lost to the Chargers, and also beat Carolina as their last 4. Just taking a look at the Atlanta Falcons here. And so I am excited that game is in Washington. I hope that we can keep on building with some of this momentum. It'll just be interesting to see, how we do. We're now, I would assume we're favored in this game. And it's kind of a rarefied air for us. You don't get favored a lot, and it tends to not do particularly well for us when we're favored, and so I was happy to see last week we were actually able to cover a spread where we were favored. That seems to be rare for us. But any other final thoughts that you have on the Falcons before we let you go, Dujanay, looking into this upcoming game?
Like I said, the Falcons are now a one-trick pony, but they run the ball very well. Cordell Patterson is a man that just runs with just complete nasty. And you're going to have to wrap him up. I think this defense understands exactly what their task needs to do. And I think the veterans on this squad are setting the tone in that regard. I wouldn't worry about their passing game too much. I mean, Mariota can break, contain, and all that good stuff. But the way that this defense has been pushing the pocket and collapsing it down, you got Jamin Davis has been cleaning up very well and making plays. I think they have a really good shot at home if the crowd comes and shows up and shows out and really makes it feel like a home game, I think this is a game that it's just, to me, it's just like the Texans game. Show up. I think they need to put points on the board. Obviously, I'd like to see them get some more touchdowns, but this team that they're facing is a one-trick pony. They can run the ball. They have no more Kyle Pitts. I think they have a really good rookie in Drake London, but I think the corners for Washington can handle that. I like seeing Fuller step up the way he did this week. He's had such a rough first half of the season, really starting to come on now. I think this is a winnable game, and I really do pick them to win in basically the same fashion. It could it be 31 points for Washington? Absolutely. But I'd take 24 and probably same thing, 24-10, 24-13 type of ball game here. But Washington has the ability to get 30 points in this game because they're facing the same exact type of team with an unproven threat in Drake London, unlike having Brandon Cooks on the other side this past week. So I like their chances, but Atlanta is going to be a run type of team because right now their next biggest weapon, which was Kyle Pitts, is out. He's on IR. So that's one less weapon for Mariota, and he's taken a lot of sacks over the last couple of weeks. I expect this defense to get at least 4 or 5 more.
Yeah, it's interesting. So this game is in Mexico. Is this right? This Monday Night Football game, which
it is.
I have on. So it was a big score by Deebo Samuel, rushed to the left for 39 yards to make it 24-10. San Francisco in that game. It's interesting, the 49ers and the Commanders are right there in that wild card hunt, and so are the Giants, and so are the Cowboys. It's just an interesting to have 3 teams from one division be at it at this point in the season. It's kind of surprising.
All 4 teams could go to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, if San Francisco wins here, then we currently still be out
still behind them. Yes, yeah,
but very close. All of it right there, and it's just been a very interesting beginning of the season that I don't know if any of us really predicted at this point. I know that some of us predicted that they would do well, but how it started, I kind of thought that all of our predictions were kind of crazy then, and now it's kind of completely turned around. It's been a really interesting season for sure. But Dugenais, if people want to catch more of your stuff, I hope that they do click the podcast partners button on sportsothp.com. And then they can get things for the breakdown. I don't know. I know it's a crazy week with Thanksgiving. Are you doing any shows or any other stuff this week? Or are you going to take the week off? We're
gonna just hold tight until next week. We're gonna have a few more NHRA interviews. Check out the interview. It's a very good interview we did with the reigning 2022 Top Fuel World Champion Brittany Force. We had her on last week. And it's a great interview. If you're new to the sport or don't really know much about the sport, she really provides some really good insight, just to her championship run, what it took, and the adversity that she was able to rise up and be able to take this championship at the end. Just amazing. So I encourage you guys to listen to that. It's an excellent interview. I had a great time. Hopefully next week after the Thanksgiving
where can they get that interview? Where is it at?
That's going to be on the breakdown.
Okay, so it's on the show. Yeah. So yes. Are you going to post it on that podcast page this week, or are you going to post it next week with your other stuff?
Oh, it's already up.
It's already up there now. So, all right. Yeah. The breakdown link is in chat. So if people want to click on that. Also, if they go to Team Sports OTHP on the Sports OTHP website, all the links for Dugenais are on there too. So definitely go check that out. And any final things before we let you go?
No, man. You just look, Commanders fans, enjoy it and go out and support the team this upcoming week. This is a great time to be a fan, and it looks like things are trending up. You see Ron Rivera, a little more light on his feet. seem to be really happy about what's going on with this football team. And it really says a lot, doesn't it? All the crap that's going on the outside and inside, all those guys are just worried about are just playing football. And, a testament to this coaching staff, to Ron Rivera, keeping this team focused. Really could have been really ugly with all the distractions. And you got a team that's right in the thick of it, man, right in the thick of it. And they got another game that's winnable coming up. So enjoy it.
Yeah, I really quickly on what you're saying there, I think is very interesting because a couple of weeks ago, about 6 weeks ago, it could have just unraveled on them, right? Yeah. All the turmoil on the outside, they've lost a bunch of games. Carson Wentz is injured. They could have just packed it in, said, well, we'll try for a draft pick. And they decided, nope, we're going to basically start fresh, almost like a brand new season right here, win 1 week at a time. Yep. And then they find themselves winning 5 out of 6. It's just a really impressive run. This is the first time this late into the season that they've been above 500 since 2018. And so
crazy, ain't it?
Yeah. So it's just something we didn't see 6 weeks ago. None of us did, but I'm happy that they were able to put it together. And it's just been a really, you got to celebrate the wins as they happen because we don't know how the rest of the season is going to go. But the fact that we had this stretch is just an incredible thing.
Yeah, indeed. And Champ, great watch along, man. Like I always tell you, I don't watch pay-per-views. If I'm not watching No Spots podcast, that means I'm not watching the pay-per-view. I'm not nowhere near it to watch the pay-per-view. I watch that watch along to watch pay-per-view. That's how I watch my pay-per-view.
I appreciate you, brother.
I agree. It's funny because we had actually 3 of us in here. We had Dugenais, obviously Champ was hosting it, but Casey was able to join in as well. So that was really cool. He was telling me he was watching. I was like, well, you got to join this podcast if you're watching it because I know the right place to be. So I'm happy that we all could hang out a little bit in that chat as well. And Dugenais, it's great stuff as always. And hopefully we'll talk to you next week, but if not, the week after that would be great.
Sounds good, man.
Have a good one and happy Thanksgiving.
DJ.
You too. You guys have a great holiday, man. Enjoy.
Yeah. Thank you. You too. All right.
Texans.
Champ. I know Texans. Exciting. I mean, what are some of your thoughts on this? And looking ahead to Atlanta as well.
Well, I got to say that this Texans game was probably one of the best defensive efforts I've seen this team play all season. They were going up against a team that clearly was not good on paper, but as it was mentioned earlier, sometimes they play down to teams like this and then they'll end up getting curb stomped. This time, they did not play down to the Texans. They went after the Texans and they went after them. They had 2 takeaways, that pick 6 from Fuller, where he played that ball perfectly. He saw the quarterback's eyes. He knew where he was going, and he played it perfectly and had clear lane to the end zone to get the scoring off right. Then that incredible interception later on in the game where it was originally called an incomplete pass, and they looked and saw, oh, no, his shoulder was down inbounds. It's an interception. So they played defense well. They got 5 sacks. They held the Texans to only 148 yards total, including 21 rushing, whereas they were more balanced with 153 yards rushing, 191 yards passing for a total of 344 yards. Again, third down wasn't their strong suit, 3 of 13, only 23%, but Houston had the same amount of third down attempts, but 1 less conversion. So that just showed them that they were able to hold them down, get them off the field on third downs. The one thing that kind of killed me though is they went 4 for 4 on fourth down. So that means that they weren't really getting them off the field when it counted. But that's one less thing. But other than that, Curtis Samuel managed to get in the end zone running the ball. Taylor Heineke had a somewhat good day. He was 15 of 27 for 191 yards, but the good thing is he didn't turn the ball over. And knowing that he now knows this is his team and this is his job to lose, he's going out there and playing with a little bit more confidence. But as someone asked me earlier, they said, how do I feel about Taylor Heineke? I said, I like him, but I feel like he needs to have more confidence. He needs to understand that he only way he loses his job is if he plays so poorly and they start losing. That's the only way he's losing his job. But if he continues to play well and they continue to win, he can drive this team to the playoffs. So this was a statement game like the Eagles game was a statement game. They ended their undefeated streak, but this one was one to say, hey, that wasn't a fluke. This is a team to keep an eye on, especially with that defense. So that's how I feel about the Texans game. I had fun with that win because it was the first win in a while where I wasn't sweating and having heart palpitations, wondering, oh, is this team going to lose or not? They actually gave me some kind of confidence and calm about the game, which is great. I want more of those. I'm 40 years old. I can't afford heart problems.
So they just showed a stat because they re-showed this crazy Deebo Samuel run play, which is a great run play in this live Monday Night Football game. He almost reached 20 miles per hour running during that run. 20 miles per hour, just under. It was 19 point something. That's crazy speeds. I mean, that's like really top line sprinters. Struggle to do that.
That's really fast. Also, another thing about the Texas game, someone put this on Twitter that the Commanders almost had their first shutout in the Daniel Snyder era. So they still have yet to have a shutout game in the Daniel Snyder era.
To be fair, shutouts are very rare in the NFL.
That is true. But also you got to think about that. Snyder bought the team in 99. We're in 2022.
Yeah.
That's 23. That's 23 years.
Holding to a team to under a touchdown and a half is considered good by, so it'd be hard to get zero. Like it's just such a rare we actually done pretty well. We've held some teams to like 3 points in the first half of this season. So we've done our defense has definitely showed up. It's been always on our offensive side. It's like what are they doing on their side of the ball? Like I feel like I worry less about the defense, except for times where the offense turns it over very quickly and then they have to go back out there right away. It's hard to have sustained excellence, but if you give them some rest, they go and they make some pretty good plays, especially down the stretch in games. And obviously, I think the running game in yesterday's game was so crucial against a terrible run defense. I'm just happy that was the game plan. And I just hope that for me, the recipe for success over these last 5 out of the 6 games has always been time of possession. Just don't let their offensive threats be on the field.
Right.
And if they're only on the field for 20 minutes out of a 60-minute game, it's going to be hard for them to beat you. And I think that's a great, especially if the other team's going to be running a lot too. That could play into that sort of game plan. If both teams are running it, then the clock just keeps on running and running and running. You just got to get the ball back. You just got to play some sound run defense at times. And I don't know. I think there's a real opportunity here. I just don't want our team to get cocky and full of themselves, right? We haven't won anything yet. We're still probably looking at this game still out of the wild card. We're in the hunt, but we're out of the spot for now, So like we've got to stay hungry. And it's like, how do they manufacture that now is going to be like their next hurdle, I think.
The Atlanta game is going to be very interesting. I mean, Dujane touched on everything. Cordero Patterson is definitely going to be a problem in the run game, and he's already riding a high, becoming the all-time leader in kickoff returns for touchdowns, scoring his 9th this past week. So that's going to be another threat to think about. But I think Joey Sly does have the leg to keep it from going into Cordero Patterson's hands for any kind of a chance for a kickoff return. But that's still something that has to stay in the back of your mind on the special team side. So this Atlanta game is winnable. The defense is already playing well, and they just announced today that Chase Young has been activated from the PUP list, so he's going to be practicing. He should be able to join. He may be limited in reps on the field during game day, but his presence will still be a big time thing for this defense, and it could cause a lot of problems for Marcus Mariota in that offense. I think Washington wins this game, and they go on to have 6 wins in the last 7 games going into that game against the New York Football Giants with a lot of momentum driving them. So go Commanders, beat Atlanta, and then you got more momentum. Then you got the Giants next.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting because if I was the team, I'm not bringing in Chase Young until after the bye week. Give him that whole time, give him the bye week. And then, maybe you put him into that next Giants game, or maybe you even put him in after that. Because honestly, they're gelling and the defense is playing good. You don't want to potentially re-injure something where he could be a valuable commodity to be fresh with fresh legs later in the season, at the very end, if you're going to try to make like a playoff push or something, right? So I don't think you could just enter him like the last game of the season or whatever, but I also don't think they need to rush him in. The reason they activated him is because if they didn't activate him by Wednesday, he had to stay on the IR for the rest of the season.
Right.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's indicative that he'll play this week or next week.
Right.
But it is still a good sign that it shows that they want to play him. They don't want to pick up another contract instead.
Yeah, I agree with you, Robbie, that they could theoretically they activate him so he doesn't stay on IR the rest of the season, but they could theoretically have him inactive for the Falcons game, possibly inactive for the first Giants game, give him the bye, and then activate him for the Giants game, and then have him for the final push. That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, because that would give him 3 more weeks of healing, which I think could be significant, right, at this point. And I think it also depends on how the Falcons game goes. I think if we lose the Falcons game, maybe you need him for the Giants game. But so you start working him in this week and you start to see how he feels, but you don't necessarily rush it per se. So, yeah, I think that we have analyzed this a lot. I'm going to bring back the rest of the roundtable because I do want to get some of their thoughts on how the Commanders have been doing and a little insight on the Giants as well, since we have fans of both those teams as well.
The prodigal son returns.
I know.
Yep.
It's Brian's first time on since the summer, right?
I was gonna say since like August or something, right? It's been a while.
And I don't think I wasn't even on that show. That was back when Carol was doing
it. CP3 show, yeah.
Right. So I don't think I've been with you since the springtime, honestly. So
yeah,
it's been a very long time. Well, welcome back, Brian Brennan, to the show. And we're going to bring in, Casey as well. But while Casey's joining in on the video side of it and stuff, Brian, I know that it was a rough week this week for the Giants. They've got an interesting stretch coming up. The Giants started off very, very hot, like all the teams in the division. None of us thought the division was going to be this amazing at this point. But what are your thoughts on the Giants up into this point and then looking forward?
Yeah, great start to the season. It's been a while since the Giants have been this competitive, this exciting, this fun to watch. I got to give the new head coach, Brian Daboll, a lot of credit. I really think he's done a good job so far. I mean, I would vote him as one of the candidates for sure for a coach of the year, just the way he's turned the Giants around. It was really a fantastic start. They've had a lot of like really late, close, exciting games, like games where they've had to come back. And, it's refreshing because they've been terrible for the last, while here. So it's nice to have the Giants finally, not be so awful and, to have a chance in just about every game. But like you were saying, Robbie, this game this week against the Lions at home was a huge letdown. I mean, I thought they were going to win this game. I know Detroit has been playing a lot better lately. They've won 3 games in a row now after this win. They're playing great right now. And but I still expected to win this game at home. And so to lose it, and in kind of the disappointing way the Giants lost it, is kind of demoralizing because you guys were talking about it. The schedule gets a lot tougher for the Giants the rest of the way. They have 7 games left, and 5 of them are divisional games. You guys mentioned the 2 games against the Commanders coming up in the next couple of weeks here. They've still got to play the Eagles twice. They play the Cowboys in just a couple days on Thanksgiving. So, I mean, there's a chance this all goes.
You played the next 4 games are against divisional opponents. It reminds me of our schedule last year, where 4 out of our last 5.
We were talking about it the other day, Robbie. This is very backloaded, and it's very unusual to have a schedule like this. And not even if you take out the divisional games, the rest of the other games are still pretty tough. They have to play the Vikings in Minnesota, and they on Christmas Eve they have to play the Vikings in Minnesota, and they also have to play the Colts. Who also
on New Year's Day they have to play the Colts, which is a tough game.
It's going to be tough, man. I don't know. I mean, so I'm really hoping they can hold on. And you guys have looked really good the last. I got to be honest. I mean, I know the Texans aren't exactly like the greatest competition, but you guys have looked pretty good. I mean, so I got to give you credit there. And I'm watching the 49ers tonight, like you guys, and they look good right now. So there's still a lot left to be played in the NFC. I think the Eagles are going to win the division, but I still think there's a lot to be played for those wild card spots. We'll see. But great.
I
start to the
like
season.
this new system though with the 3 wild cards though. It makes
Me
it even
too.
more
Yeah, me
exciting.
too.
I think 2 buys were dumb anyway. I don't think it's necessary in football, and I think it's more exciting to get another wild card team in there just because it's so competitive and so few spots in the playoffs for the football. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so you're playing at Dallas on Thanksgiving. It's the 4:30 game. That's going to be a real rough one, and then you play
Yep.
us twice, but sandwiched between the
Eagles. Yep.
which is a tough one as well. So it's crazy. And then the Sunday, December 8th against us, that's to be determined that time. And it'll be interesting to see at Philly at the Sunday, January 8th, that's to be determined too. So
Could be
it's
flexed. Yeah.
yeah, it could be flex. So I mean, I'm just so impressed that the division has been so good. It's the best record through 10 weeks in the history of the NFL. And we all were talking about how much we would be surprised if one team was above 500 at this point. We didn't expect all of them to be above 500. So just been a
And
really
if-
surprising season. Casey, what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, we're often referred to as the NFC least instead of the NFC East, and so the fact that we're hanging in there and that the whole division's looking good, as much as I really wish the Cowboys would just lose every single game ever, but
Right.
that's just personal opinion. I'm very happy with the way the Commanders are playing. If they, I was one people that was screaming to when Carson went down to put Sam Howell in and just like see what we have with him and let the season just kind of tank out and let's try to get a good pick. I'm glad I was wrong because it's nice to see us playing at this level and trying to keep pushing forward. And I mean, like we said, yeah, the Texans aren't anything to particularly brag about, but it's nothing to stop at either. You play your schedule, and
Yeah.
so it's just nice. I'm looking forward to what games we have left and just continue to see if the Commanders can make a push, and hopefully we can claim one of those 3 wild cards, and hopefully we can keep Dallas from getting one, and that would just make me very, very happy.
Yeah, that would be an awesome scenario where somehow Dallas falls out of it and the Giants, the Commanders, and the 49ers.
I don't know, man. The Cowboys looked really good this weekend against the Vikings. They crushed
I know. I'm
them.
so mad. I had this feeling that they would play well this week, but I was like, nah, the Vikings have been like having these miracle victories and the Cowboys find ways to fall apart, but nope. I had that feeling all week too, Brian.
Kirk Cousins.
I changed it 5 times. And yeah, Kirk Cousins, has an interesting relationship with the Cowboys for sure. But yeah, well, we can switch gears and talk a little bit of Wizards now that we got the whole round table. I think that we've exhausted some of our football talk